putting together ideas from global variables and cyclomatic complexity, we can create the spaghetti factor metric SF. The spaghetti factor SF is equal to the strict cyclomatic complexity SEC plus 5 times the number of global variables plus the number of lines of source code SLOC divided by 20, where the number of lines of source code are the number of C statements, so that excludes comments and counts multi-line statements as a single statement. The scoring on this metric is that you want a sweet spot of about 5 to 10. If every single procedure in your code has no if statements or one if statement, and your SF is down at 1 or 2, you'll have a lot of tiny little subroutines that are hard to keep track of. So having plenty of procedures in the range of 5 to 10 is fine. Lower isn't necessarily better. Rather, you want quite a bit of the code in the sweet spot. But once the number gets too high, say around 15, you really don't want to be doing that except where you really need to. Around 20, it's time to do a design review and look at refactoring the code. Around 30, you probably want to refactor the design and try and break things up. Now there are exceptions to this. For example, if you have a flat switch statement and that switch statement is handling different byte values, as for example in a network message dispatcher, that's okay as a one-off exception. But in general, you should not be seeing a lot of that. Around a spaghetti factor score of 50, probably your software is untestable unless it's a special case, and you should be throwing the module away and redesigning. At 75, not only is it untestable, but probably every time you touch it, you break it and it's unmaintainable. And around 100, generally when you see code like that, it's basically a nightmare. You should just be throwing the whole thing away and starting over with that section of your system. Again, these numbers are pretty rough rules of thumb, and a number 1 or 2 higher or lower is not that big a deal. It's subject to debate. However, when you see really high numbers on this spaghetti factor metric, you should be really asking yourself why your software is that complex and if there's any possible way to make it simple enough so you have a better chance to test it and to understand it.